Hello, everyone. This is Platinum Leader Justine Shine with you here today, leader of Team Eclipse. Today, we're talking about organizing your client bookings, and I'm not just talking about, where do I put my itinerary once it's booked, that kind of stuff. We're getting nitty gritty. We're going to talk about organizing yourself along the entire way of the booking process with your clients. Okay, so we're going to talk in stages. So what do I have? I think it was 3 stages we're going to talk about. So stage number 1 is going to be when you're getting your client's information initially, right? So how many of you here in this training, put it in the chat for me, how many of you have a quote form that you're using already for your clients? If not, that's okay. We're going to talk about the importance of it. So awesome, good. A lot of people say yes. I saw someone mention Travelify, which is wonderful. Okay, there's another platform similar to Travelify called TravelJoy, which I'm actually going to show a little pieces and parts of. I personally use TravelJoy and love it. I know people really love Travelify, so it depends on which world you like the most. All right, so awesome. A lot of people do, and some people said not yet, and that's okay. Maybe you're early in your business, but there's a few places that you can do a quote form. Digitally, of course, right? You could write stuff down if you wanted to, but digital is really great because obviously we live in a digital world, but at the same time, it makes life a lot easier with storing info, right? So you can use Google Forms, you can use Jot Forms, both of which are entirely free to use, okay? I think Jot form is free to a certain extent. You can only have a certain number of forms pre-made before you have to pay, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But guys, you also have a quote form in your Evolution Travel website. Okay, so you have those 3 types of ways to use a Google quote form, not Google quote form, oh my gosh, that's what I use, to use a quote form. And the reason that's so important is because you're getting all of the information you need in one place. So you're not going back and forth a million times, whether it's email, text, phone call, whatever it is, right? So there is that. Now, a little pieces and parts of that. Let me pull up. I always have notes, guys. All right, because, well, sometimes we forget things. So yes, Eva website, Google Forms, Jot Forms, but whichever you use, you have to have something, okay? Even if it means that the client doesn't fill it out themselves, which is most ideal, right? But if you get on the phone with your client, which you should be, you should have that quote form open, whatever platform you're using, and put that information in it as your client's giving it to you. So again, it's all in one place, okay? So that's stage 1. We've gotten all of our clients' information. Next, we're going to start researching and compiling our price quote, right? So stage 2 here, we're going to talk about price quotes and itineraries. So there's a few ways you can do this. I'm going to tell you ways that I've done things. Okay, so if you haven't tried any of these things, I recommend it. You can kind of narrow down for yourself what's going to be best. So 3 ways I've done it in the past. One way is, well, the easiest, type it all in an email, copy and paste it from the vendor, put it in the email, okay? Send it off to your client that way. That way, you have a track record of that being sent out. That's one way of tracking price quotes. Another way, maybe you create a template in Canva that you use for every client where you just input the information into the template that you've made. Now, you could find pre-made templates in Canva for free if you have Canva Pro. That's awesome too, right? Just unleashes new, I guess, templates, new looks, new other types of stuff, but the free version's just as good. All right. The third way is honestly the newest way that I am putting my information out to my clients, and that is through TravelJoy. Okay. With them, you're able to type out a price quote to them, send it off to them. You can create itineraries in TravelJoy, and I'll show a little bit of what that looks like. I'm going to touch very slightly on it because that's a whole training in and of itself. I will be doing a training on TravelJoy at the end of June. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. I will be extending that to all of Rising Tide. All right, so there is that. With your price quotes, guys, for those who are here, how are you sending that out to your client? What platforms are you using? And Carol, you mentioned you have 3. I'm going to assume you meant quote forms types, right? Disney, general travel, Europe travel. That's awesome. See if you have niches, maybe you have a specific template for those niches. Okay. Okay, you have Travelify, awesome. Let's see, is VCRM okay to use? Emily, I'm not familiar with what that is, to be honest. Okay. Jessica says that they use Travelify. Carol uses Canva we're talking about price quotes, right? So how you're getting your price quotes out to people. Vacation CRM. Yeah, Emily, I've never heard of them. I've never heard of it. I could take a look later, but let's see. Someone says RoomRes. So maybe you're sending out price quotes straight from the vendor. That's another way to do it. Okay. Some people are fine with that. Me personally, with my business, I just feel like I don't like to do that, sending directly from the vendor, because it's giving the client all of the information they need. So they might go online, try to find it themselves and just book it, right? And then you lose that on that commission. So I don't necessarily recommend that fully. Okay. Someone says Canva Pro, Google Forms, Travelify again, Travelify. Awesome. Yeah. So there are so many tools out there. What I mentioned is just a few ways. Okay. So when you are making your price quotes for your client, make sure you're keeping track of that, because there's a huge likelihood that your first price quote is not the only one you send to your client. Okay, I have this happen almost every time, where you give your client those initial options and then things get adjusted to their liking until it's finalized, right? So keep track of those, whether it's in a file folder that you print out, or if it's digital in a Google Drive, a file folder on your computer labeled as quotes, price quotes, whatever it is. Okay. So there is that. Now let's talk about itineraries. So let's say we've gotten the price quote out to our client. We've gone through all of the process there and we've finalized exactly what they want. Now, once we have booked the travel, it is crucial, guys, crucial that you're keeping track of all kinds of different pieces of information, okay? So I want to focus on itineraries just for a moment, okay? Now, with itineraries, what I used to do was send it out as an email to people. Okay, so I would put all the information in that place, send it off to them. I used to also do that in a Google form, where I would put all the information into one place and do it that way. Okay, and guys, the reason I'm not showing you all of this is because, well, my client's personal information is all over these documents. Okay, so unfortunately, I cannot necessarily show that. What I will do is, when this is posted to YouTube, I'm going to include templates of each of these different stages for you guys, with the different ways that that I'm showing. So you'll have that as a resource for you guys. All right. There is one resource I want to show you. So we talked about itineraries. I will say I use TravelJoy as well. In TravelJoy, and I believe Travelify probably does the same thing. You can input all of your clients' itinerary information in there, and they'll track their flights and everything in real time, which is really cool. And I know within TravelJoy itself, you can actually do client notifications. So they will get an email, or an email saying, oh, your flight was delayed. Oh, this, that, right? So also the itinerary itself just looks really professional. So you could use TravelJoy or Travelify. Again, that's a paid service to use, okay? You could use Canva again, create a template that you put information into for all of your clients. You could do a Google Doc, a Microsoft Word document, or simple an email, okay? So those are itineraries. Now let's talk about how to track your clients' information in general, because, well, the goal for our business is to have long-lasting repeat clientele. Right? So one way to do this, I will share my screen and actually share this with you guys in the chat. Give me one moment. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing here. Hopefully it shares right. Let's see. Yes. All right. So I have a spreadsheet. This is a template for all of you to use. I will share that right now. This is how I track my clients' information after the booking is made. So let's see here. Anyone with link, copy. Let me throw that in the chat for everyone here. All right. All right, there is that for people, okay? So right here, you're gonna see all of the major pieces of info that you need to know for your client's travel, right? So their name, their phone number, their email, the date that they did their deposit, having the final payment date written here, okay? Because you need to know when to remind your client of when that final payment is, right? So you can even have a section here that I made for you where you know exactly the date that you're going to send that email off to your client saying, oh, your final payment's coming up, all right? The vendor that the travel's booked with, the reservation number for ease of access, right? Because I'm not going to lie, guys. There's been times where I am doing anywhere between 5 to 10 or more bookings all at once within a 2-week time, okay? And so I'm not always going to remember every single person's vendor I used, if it's in different places, all the things, right? So that's why it's important to keep this organized. It's going to save you so much time, okay? So vendor reservation number, date of departure, so you know when to send maybe a bon voyage, safe travels email to your client, right? And then lastly, when you're going to send the finalized itinerary. So when you've officially booked your client's travel, of course you want to send them, maybe a what's the word I'm looking for? Tentative itinerary, right? All the information's there, but you still want to make sure that everything is lined up and ready to go. For every single client I have, I confirm everything I have with the vendor directly, and then I send them the finalized itinerary 2 weeks before they travel. Just in case, well, if anything comes up a week before, a few days before, I'm on top of it, I'm aware of it, and I can take care of it, okay? How many of you use something like this to track your clients' booking information? Go ahead and put it in the chat for me. And of course, you're free to use this, okay? All you gotta do is go to File and then make a copy, okay? Or else you're not gonna be able to edit your own version. So Carol, you have a very similar spreadsheet. Let's see, someone said they have a notebook. Travelify has different forms. Yes, it does. So does TravelJoy, yes. And some people say not yet, and that's okay, right? Even with your first client, that's the perfect time to get started with this, okay? Because then you have it all set, ready to go for when you start getting more clients. Some people say they use Google Sheets, a notebook, Excel, awesome. Paper as a backup. Yes, Carolyn. So remember, guys, we do live in a world full of technology, right? But technology fails us sometimes. So anything you make, you might even want to print out a copy of it or have it in a other location, okay? Let's see, Jessica, do you mean that you call each vendor to confirm the itinerary before you send it? So Jessica, what I'll call them when I'm finalizing the itinerary. So when I have the tentative itinerary that I sent out to them, I don't call the vendors yet because I just booked it. I'm sending this tentative itinerary literally within a half hour after we've booked, whether it's deposit or final payment, okay? And then when it gets 2 weeks out from their departure date, that's when I call all of the vendors, lock everything in, confirm, and then I send out that finalized itinerary that has confirmation numbers and all of the things, okay? Brittany says both Excel and TravelJoy. Awesome. Yeah. So again, guys, there's all kinds of resources to do this. You just want to find what works for you. If you don't have a system right now, you definitely want to, maybe try the things I'm mentioning today, narrow it down and see what works best for you because everyone's different. All right. So there is that. Let me come back to my notes here and make sure I'm not missing anything. So we've talked about sending out price quotes, sending out itineraries. Let's see here. Okay, good. So stage 2, I think that is everything. So the last piece here, stage 3, guys, is keeping track of those different forms such as invoices, those credit card authorization forms, what else? These itineraries, we just talked about that, but and when you've done deposit and full payments with your clients, right? So again, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this, but some ways that I do this. One way I've done in the past is on my computer, I'll create different file folders for the types of forms that I have. When I download the forms, I just rename them as my client's initials and their departure date, okay? So that's one way you can do it. Or what you could do is have a general folder of travel that has subfolders of your clients, okay? And then within those folders, you have one dedicated to their credit card authorization forms, their invoices, their itineraries, and all the other things you might want in there. That's another way to maybe even have this spreadsheet in a file folder version, right? So having a client folder that has all of that important info in it. All right, that's one way. All right, second way, we have this here, the spreadsheet, okay? We have TravelJoy or Travelify, but we also can print everything out in file folder that way. I have all of these here. Okay, I do. I go old school as well. All right, sometimes you have to just to be safe, right? And we all know that with those credit card authorization forms, if Archer ever asks for it, right, we don't have to submit it if it's not within the 21-day booking process. We have it right there printed and we have it digitally just in case. Okay. So there is that about those pieces of information. Now, invoices. Who here does invoices for their clients regularly? If you don't, you really should, right? But in the chat for me, are you doing invoices and what are you using to do them? Let's see. People are thinking. Nicole, you use Square. That is, I didn't even think the piece of Square. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So travel, what do you think of, I'm going to probably butcher this, reposite, repo site, reposite. I don't know. I've never heard of that. Honestly, I have not heard of it. There's some new things I'm learning today, guys. This is why I like doing trainings and asking questions because, you know, we're all learning. I'm going to write that down so I can look it up later. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Some people have not. One booking was through your website. Awesome. So your website, yeah, is another way to track information, of course, right? Because we get emails when people book and do your price quote, not price quote, quote request form on there. Someone said they've used PayPal for invoice. Also learning how to use Square. Someone uses Square as well. Let's see. Also, Travelify now offers an invoice feature. Wonderful. All right, cool. So again, all kinds of different ways to do these things. You want to get into a routine of how you do this, right? So organizing is one thing, guys, but you got to keep up with it, hold yourself accountable, and put this info where it needs to be as soon as it needs to get there. All right. Now, that is pretty much all the info I have for you in terms of organizing. I wanted to leave a good chunk of time for Q&A. So for anyone who has questions about any of this info, feel free to unmute and ask, okay? Now is the time. Any questions, guys? Oh,
yeah. So I had a question because I had an issue with it was my first client and I hadn't confirmed the room type directly with the hotel. It's been just a bit of a kind of debacle, but it was my first client and I'm learning. But basically, I sent them kind of through a, I guess, confirmation after I'd taken the credit card information and made all the bookings with all the confirmation numbers and said that this has been paid, this has been paid, this needs to be paid on arrival. But I'm not too sure if that was the correct thing to do or how to, I guess that was technically kind of invoicing, but I just wasn't sure if that was the correct thing to do because there was multiple bookings on the same thing and it was a little confusing. So I was wondering if there was a way that you would suggest to simplify that when there's multiple bookings on the same, multiple vendors on the same booking, I guess.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I do not share vendor names with my clients. I don't, because they don't really.
Oh no, I didn't share the vendor name. I just put the names of the motel with like a confirmation number, just in case that they ran into any difficulties. They had a confirmation number.
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. I want to show you, let me log into Canva real quick. I'm going to show you guys what my invoice looks like so that you can see. I make my invoices a little more simple. Well, I'm transitioning into using TravelJoy full time, right? But Canva with the template I made, I just put the basic information on there. I don't even share confirmation numbers because that's going to get put in their itinerary. Right. So are you referencing when you make the itinerary or when you're making the invoice?
Sorry, yeah, just when I'm, I guess, doing the invoice, like after everything's been confirmed and paid for, then I was sending the confirmation numbers.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I'm waiting for Canva to load. Like I said, I had internet issues, so we're gonna wait and hopefully it will pop up. But once that does, I will show you guys what that looks like. So I'm gonna come back to that. All right. I will revisit in just a moment when it loads, but I want to continue sharing.
And I did have one other question, kind of.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yes, but one.
Meg, you're breaking up. So sorry.
It kind of, I was under the impression that it would be charged automatically, but that didn't seem the case.
I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying. If you could put it in the chat for me, that would be great, just because you're breaking up a lot, I think. Okay. So there, go ahead and put that in the chat if you can. It might be long, that's okay. All right, so you can go ahead and put that there and I will take a look when you put that in the chat. So, okay, with Travel Joy, guys, I wanted to show you this because it's so easy to track your clients' information. Okay, Jason, Travel Joy is not free. It's free for the first 4 or 7 days, I think, up to a week maximum, I believe. And then it's only $30 a month. But I'm telling you, it is so worth it. Okay, I know one of my agents is here, Jessica. She's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. All right, so it is really great. So here you're going to see all of, I made this secure, so, you know, everyone's information is protected here, but you'll see all these different trips. These are trips I am actively working on now. Okay. You can see, you can label them as being booked. You can say, oh, I've sent my proposal to them, which is the price quote. You can put them into inquiry mode where you've sent out the, vacation quote request form, that's what I'm trying to say, into this little CRM system. Basically, it's like a portal for all of your clients, and within your client's trip is a portal of itself where you communicate with them and all the things. So I'll just show you very quickly. Like I said, I am doing a training on this in June. I might do it sooner. I don't know. We'll see. All right. But you will be informed of that if that happens. All right. But Jessica says it's a total game changer. Yes. Right. Yes, exactly. It streamlines everything. So Deborah, I see your message to me. Give me one moment and I'll take a look. Okay. So here you can create a trip. You can create a new client. Upload a batch list of client information if you have multiple clients where it's going to take more time to individually input them. But once you've done that, let's just put myself here. Okay, so there is that. I have myself there. You can title the trip, which is great. We'll just do trip to convention. Why not? And then you can put their travel dates in. I'm doing this because I want to show you what that client portal looks like. So we'll do the 28th through the 4th. We're doing in Las Vegas. It's just me. All right, awesome. So let's go create the trip. And you can personalize the cover photo of the trip as well, which is nice. Let's see. Awesome. So here is basically like a client portal. Okay, you can create tasks. You can put files in, you can take notes for yourself that your client can't see. You can have a trip funds where once you have booked the travel, you can create invoices and all kinds of other fun things, okay? So here you can type messages that send out as an email to your clients. Travel Joy also has a ton of built-in email templates that you can, of course, go and edit to your liking, okay? You can attach documents. And two pieces I really love, which why I brought this up too, because it's relevant to what I talked about. You can create an entire itinerary. Okay, so when I do that, That's where you can have flight information tracked in real time. You're going to get updates on that flight information. So if there's a delay or anything like that, you know, and your client's going to know. All right. You can also use this itinerary to send out your price quote to the client, because you can do a deposit in total price here and show the prices on the itinerary. Okay. They can even approve the itinerary. So if they love everything, they're ready to go, they'll approve it, and then you can book from there. Those are just a few pieces, because again, I need a whole hour to do a training on Travel Droid, but that's one thing. All right. And then if we go back here, what's really great as well, hopefully it loads. All right, awesome. Also, you can create over here, you can do the itinerary from here, of course. You can create different types of forms, invoices, and proposals, which would be maybe a price quote. Okay, so that's a little bit about Travel Joy. Let me see here. Canva's still not loaded. Oh me, oh my. That's crazy. Try again. We'll see. I'll leave it here for now. But let me take a look at the chat real quick. Let's see. All right, so Deborah, let me take a look at your question real quick. Do you have to invoice the client? So I highly recommend it, because you have like a receipt of their transaction, right? In the vendor itself, I think in most cases you can send an invoice through the vendor to your clients. I know with cruise lines you can. With Vax Vacation Access, I believe you can as well. It would be like sending the itinerary, but they'll also be able to see their balance amount. Okay, so there's that. But I still recommend maybe having a separate platform for your invoicing, and it's easier to keep track that you've sent them. All right. Let's see. I think you have one more question here as well. Do I make the itinerary for them? Yes, absolutely, right? So that's part of what it's like being a travel professional, travel agent, right? We want to make sure we are doing most of the work for our clients so they don't have to. Okay, so like I mentioned, there's a million different ways probably you can create those itineraries, but you want to make sure you put all of the client's itinerary info in one place with confirmation numbers, flight numbers, hotel name, room type, dates of travel, you know, all those pieces and parts. Even if there's, you know, fees they have to pay when they get to where they're going. You want to include all of that information. And like I said, guys, I will include templates and examples in my YouTube video description once I post this. All right. Let's see here. Let's see, Sarika, I will write down your email. Okay, I will do my best to remember. All right. Let's see. But like I said, your leaders will post this training in the places that they will put their recorded trainings. All right.
Hey, sorry, my internet cut out when I stepped out to take the dog out. But I had just had a question about this booking I did for my client that had, because it was for multiple hotels. So some of them, when I did the credit card authorization, I did it for the total amount of all the bookings combined. But then once I actually started to book them, only 2 of the hotels charged at the time. The car rental was pay when you arrive. And then this other hotel said that the payment would be taken by the hotel on the 1st of April or whatever it was. But the hotel didn't take the payment. And I advised them that the car rental would be due on arrival. But is there a way, I feel like I missed to kind of consolidate that, or to see what the payments are like when I'm invoicing them? Because it felt weird that I can't really give them a credit card authorization for the total amount when some is due at the other places, if that makes sense. But I wasn't aware until I was booking it that was the case, and I'm not sure if I missed something or invoiced incorrectly.
I see. Yeah. I mean, you definitely want to make sure, typically with rental cars, it depends on the vendor, but if you book like through Expedia Tap, they usually say, okay, you're going to pay at the counter for everything. But if you book in Vax, they pay for the car itself up front, and then taxes are due at the counter. So you just want to pay attention to that fine print, of course, right? But when it comes to credit card authorization form, first off, Jessica Moore is doing a training in about a half hour on that, which is awesome. All right. So there's that. But at the same time, you want to, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, on the authorization form, if you're taking their card information for that rental car in this situation, and you're putting it into the vendor to, book it or hold it, you still want to put that amount on the credit card authorization form because it's still you taking their card info and it's being charged at some point. Okay. But with our credit card authorization form, guys, for each vendor you use, you have to have a separate authorization form. Okay. So there's that. Let me see what other questions we have here.
And so is the fine print will just say like when the amount is due? So just for this one hotel, I was confused because it said like we will charge you on the 1st of April and they just never charged them. Is that just, I just should have followed up?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Followed up to make sure it was charged. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. It was just my first booking and I wasn't sure. I thought that kind of went through automatically the way it was worded. But so for every form, for every vendor, I guess, every booking for every vendor needs to be a separate credit card authorization form.
Exactly. Yes, which is another reason, if we're talking organization, guys, that's another reason why having those file folders for forms, however you label them and organize those files, but you want to make sure you're putting those forms in there to keep track of all that as well, especially if you're doing multiple vendors for one client booking, right? So there is that. Let's see here. Kim.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Can I just add something to Meg on that real quick?
Sure, yeah.
So I worked in hotels before, and that's a common mistake sometimes with the front desk or the rooms department when it is through like a third party. Let's say for us, it's through Vax, right? And we pay it there in the portal. On their end, they would have to take that payment, but sometimes it's a common mistake. They don't take it. So when the client gets to the hotel, sometimes they are authorized for that full amount instead of just incidentals. So yeah, it is highly recommended to call the hotel to confirm that booking, but also confirm that it's already paid for, because we went through Vax or whatever supplier we went through. Yeah, so yeah, because I also experienced that on my first booking for myself. I booked it through Vax, so of course everything is paid for. When I got to the hotel, I was authorized for more. And then I confirmed with them and they said, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it should be paid for already. So yeah, it's a common mistake.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, so in the chat, I have some other questions here. Let's see. Kim asked, do you still have to have the credit card form for Archer and submit your commission form to Archer? Oh, absolutely. Every single booking, you have to do both of those things. Okay. Within the 21-day booking process, there's very specific things that you have to do. So in the Travel Cafe, there's a tab dedicated to the 21-day booking process, and you want to go ahead and take a look at that. Okay. And then let's see, Kinsey, can you set up reminders for yourself in TravelJoy, for example, upcoming payment reminders or to send final itineraries, or do you use a specific app or service for your reminders? Yeah, and thanks, Jessica, you answered that. Yes, you can. All right. It's awesome. What's nice in TravelJoy is they do have a help section that has tutorial videos on most major things that you would do with them. So that's great. Let's see here. What else? Clarification around invoices. You will send out the credit card authorization for the total amount and then invoice the client with an itemized breakdown of your transaction. Yes. So what I'm doing is so the credit card authorization form is needed before you officially book, right? Because you're getting authorization to take their information over the phone. So when you officially book, after that is when I do the invoice to reflect that a payment has been made and it has their remaining balance information, due date for the final payment date. All right. And then of course, and then you say, are you only invoicing for instant commissions, internet fees? You want to include that as well. All right, so any payment that's being made at all, you want to have on an invoice, okay? There is that. Let's see here. Kenzie asks, is it pretty common for hotels to have fees at the time of check-in, even if the booking is paid in full? You know, typically hotels have that incidental charges thing, right? So maybe, I mean, that would be listed in the fine print of hotels, right? You can also, when you call to confirm things, you can call the hotel directly and make sure that everything's all set financially. Okay. Let's see here. And that's the end of my questions. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording for now. All right. So for those of you watching this, thank you. For those of you attending here, thank you. All right. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.